everybody, and welcome to another long overdue review. Okay, so I did intend to review this film when it came out, but then so many films were coming out at that time and I was bouncing between all of them like, which one do I watch first? And I could not decide, so I ended up watching none of them. I just ended up watching all my TV shows instead. So eventually when I was debating, what film series am I gonna rank next? And I'm like, oh yeah, I can rank the Wrong Turn films, which will be my next video. And as I was doing that, I was like, oh shit, I haven't watched the 2021 version yet. So it was like, okay, I guess I better sit down and watch that so I can do my ranking video. So here I am. Yeah, I have thoughts, I have feelings, I have opinions. They are going to get real deep. Far deeper than you would expect someone to be while talking about films in the franchise. Look, I know that the Wrong Turn films are not films to be overanalyzed or picked apart that much. Yet I'm gonna do it anyway, especially because it's 2021, so my horror standards are a lot higher, which means I can talk more shit about them. So anyway, let's just get into today's review, okay? Wrong Turn is a 2021 horror film directed by Mike P. Nelson and written by Alan B. McElroy. The film is a reboot of the Wrong Turn film series and the 7th film in the franchise. In it, friends hiking the Appalachian Trail are confronted by the Foundation, a community of people who have lived in the mountains for hundreds of years. Here's a reason I hate reboots. A lot of the time, someone has written a script and it works just fine as its own independent film, but someone is compelled to tie it to an existing franchise. Now, I know McElroy wrote the script to the first film, but I don't see why that means this one had to be in that franchise when it literally could have just been a standalone film called The Foundation and left at that. But this felt less about rebooting the franchise and more about just cashing in on a pre-existing fan base, and I loathe when people do that. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but that's still how it feels. This film is Wrong Turn meets The Village meets The Wicker Man, and you cannot tell me otherwise. People who take a wrong turn and fight for survival, that's Wrong Turn. People who have cut themselves off from civilization to create a safer, healthier way of life, that's The Village. People who created their own system of justice and walk around in animal costumes, albeit dead ones, that's The Wicker Man. Nothing wrong with being inspired by other films, I'm just pointing out nothing in this film felt original. To be blunt, I kinda hated this film. For starters, it was painfully dull and boring. There's no suspense, no intrigue, it lacks anything horrifying or creepy, it's just very dull. I don't care how many times you bludgeon someone to death, that doesn't make it an effective horror film. This film really seemed to rely on its depiction of primal kills, and I found none of them to be effective. Several times I'm watching a character just go to town on a now dead person, and it just keeps going, and most of the time the level of rage behind it comes out of nowhere. Adam being the first example. Getting up and hitting someone over the head in self-defense is one thing. Bludgeoning someone to death while they're not attacking anyone is another story. Now, I know how bad the Wrong Turn franchise became, especially after the second film, but this film actually gave me a new appreciation for them. Don't get me wrong, they're still bad, but they were effectively creepy or gross and on purpose. They knew what they were selling and sold it well, and each film tasked itself with creating new ways of killing people to surprise and entertain viewers. The stories weren't great, but those little aspects are unforgettable. Everything in this new film for me is forgettable, especially the kills, and I've never said that about this franchise before. What I appreciate about this film is the sociological commentary. Most horror films are allegories or commentaries on the world around us. Some films tackle a political subject, a psychological subject, or a sociological one, and we can branch out even more from those. The Purge and Get Out are very politically driven, while still tackling psychology and sociology, but politics is the driving point. Films like Saw and Hereditary are from the psychological perspective, and then we look at this film and even the original film, and the main theme is sociology, with hints of environmental science and environmental sociology. Let's look at the first film. At the surface, we have mutant incestuous cannibal hillbillies. Now, let's go deeper. We have a family whose way of life was impacted by the sociological changes outside their environment that then impacted their environment and way of life and health. Food sources became scarce, hence cannibalism. Living in isolation creates distrust in outsiders and, due to being isolated, ways to breed, which as a species for most is still considered a fundamental to our survival, becomes limited. Meaning family becomes the only breeding option, which sadly then leads to genetic abnormalities. Even the subject of pollution leading to physical deformities is an appearance in that film. Now look at this film. We have a group of people who predicted the collapse of America, took it upon themselves to withdraw from main society and create their own with its own rules and infrastructure, and it has become sustainable. Now they have eradicated racism because they view everyone as equal, and working together to maintain the living situation puts everyone on equal footing. They live off the land and are far removed from society, which means no toxins, pesticides, no greenhouse gases. The diseases and viruses that impact regular society do not affect them, so that also means no cancers. They have created their own sustained ecosystem and feel it is worth protecting. They create their own justice system. While antiquated, it works for them. But as idealistic as their little paradise is, it's not as sustainable as you think. Global warming affects everyone and everything, doesn't matter where you are. Summers get hotter, winters get colder. This impacts plant cycles and crops, so there goes their food supply. Animals have to start migrating to find new food supplies, or not enough of them to breed, so there goes more of their resources. As main society continues to expand, that means human migration, deforestation, and moving into new habitats, which means eventually they won't be able to avoid the rest of society for long. In the 1800s, their little utopia was a brilliant plan and has worked for them, but with the impact on the Earth spreading everywhere and affecting everything, its days were numbered, so it's not as idealistic as it seems. Also, once they come into contact with modern day viruses, they will have no antibodies to fight it because they've never been exposed to it, so they're sitting ducks. And while their justice system works for them, but they basically sentence everyone to death or mutilation and imprisonment, and that's fucked up. It's like venturing into a foreign country and accidentally breaking a law you didn't know existed because it's not one you have back home. How do you defend yourself? Now, yes, they eradicated racism, yay! And they obviously don't mind gay people, so yay again! But sexism is still alive and well, so guess you're not that great. These people stood around saying they have all genders and races working together. Then we see the only way a woman can save herself is to sell her body to a man. We still get the great job of being breeders, and we don't get to pick the men pick the women, so it's not that advanced. Leaders say, I haven't had a wife in a year. So, that entitles you to a new one? Fuck that. We see one guy clearly abusing a female prisoner in secret. We see another guy gloat about the way he will assault Jen's body when the others are done cutting off body parts as punishment. So clearly, women aren't that equal. So I appreciate all of the sociological aspects of this film. I even appreciate the topic of generational differences and prejudice and judging others based on misconception and preconceived notions. We think the folks of the town are bad guys. They're actually not. They just have a weird way of doing things. In fact, it's the modern day folks who come into the town who are the first to be assholes. They criticize the town folk and mock them. They assume they're racist because it's the South, and certainly the sheriff probably is, but that's it. First, we think the Foundation are murderous cannibals. No, they're not. They actually didn't attack anyone and only attacked when provoked. So in the end, it was the outsiders and supposed good guys who actually screwed up first and did commit murder first, which is a very interesting twist I was not expecting. However, while it appears we're meant to view the Foundation as secular folk just trying to keep to themselves, the movie then contradicts itself, and so in the end, everyone sucks and we can't really like anyone except maybe Jen's dad. By the way, his wife is a bitch. If your stepdaughter goes missing for several weeks, she's not off contemplating her navel. If she and 5 other people all went no contact at the same time, guess what? That's not a holiday, that's 6 missing people, and you're a heartless bitch. Where the film goes off its path of showing the modern outsiders as the threat and the secluded villagers as just people defending their own is the fact they choose to brutally punish those who simply make a mistake. Someone ventures on their land, burn their eyes and stick them in a dark cave to become cannibals. Someone ventures on their land, burn their eyes out and stick them in a dark cave to become cannibals. Kill one of our own, even by mistake, threaten us because you're scared of our very scary outfits, we kill you. Their entire system is flawed and the punishments don't always fit the crime. If their traps really were just for animals, why not find a way to put up warning signs to make sure no one came near your land or stepped on your traps, unless you kind of want them to? But then the biggest contradiction of them all comes at the end of the film. The Foundation has come searching for Jen. They're using modern clothes, which means clothes processed and dyed and made with chemicals. They used an RV, which means using something bad for the environment. Also, for people who claim to stay on the mountain, how do they know how to drive? How do they even know what road rules are? Traffic lights? Any of that? And how'd they find Jen? You can't track her like an animal. They'd have had to use the phones they stole, or track her using modern technology. So how'd they know how to use smartphones and computers? Basically, all that tells me is that they're hypocrites. Their little oasis and lifestyle built on laws and rules based on living off the land and not interacting with society is a bunch of BS. They do all those things when it suits them, so their entire basis, their entire way of life is a lie. Founded on a strong ideals and turned into something evil and full of lies. I wonder what that sounds like. Not gonna say it though. I appreciate that the character of Jen, who I think has earned final girl status, really develops survival instincts and kicks ass to survive, but I don't feel like there was a journey to her character. At the start, she's someone who has no idea what she wants for her future, and by the end, she's picked a simple life because it's a fuck ton better than the hell she went through. But she's also picked up some serious survival instincts too. But what does any of that mean about who she is? That tells me nothing about her. This is all a long-winded way of saying this is a boring, dull, lifeless film with interesting themes and subjects, but it destroys those themes and subjects when it creates a plot point that contradicts them in the worst way, which makes establishing them entirely pointless. On top of that, the film has like 3 endings. It cannot decide when to end, and so it just keeps ending the film, then giving another scene, then ending, then another scene. Just pick an ending and stick to it. The acting is fine, the camera work is fine, the scenery is fine, the special effects are fine, the editing is fine. The technical aspects of making this movie were perfectly fine. It's the story that sucked. It was so boring, and by the end of it, I'm not sure what the point of it was. What was it going for? With the original, by the end, things made sense. I can't say that with this. This series didn't need a reboot, but to make one and then create this, I can't believe it, but it actually makes the previous films way more interesting to watch. Even the ones that suck. It's bad enough that your story is conflicting, but when it's boring, I just can't forgive that. I admit I went in expecting it to be bad, but I was expecting it to be bad in the way like I think that the 6th Wrong Turn film is bad. That kind of level bad, where you're just like spending the whole time going, what the fuck is this shit? But I didn't. I mean, guaranteed, obviously, I was able to analyze more of it than I was with other films in the series. But it's not like I was sitting there the whole time going, oh my fucking god, I fucking hate da 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 da. No, I was just really bored the whole time and just wanted to get back to watching my shows. And I can never forgive a boring horror film. I can't. No. No, 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 no. Even when it's really, really bad, I will always at least say, at least you made me hate you. You know? Like, made me really passionate about hating you. Like, that's a talent. It takes work to do that. But to bore me to the point where I sleep like a baby afterwards, and I'm still, like, outside of everything I've said, if it's like someone said, hey, do you remember this film? No. Nothing about it sticks with me. It's not a memorable film. There's nothing about it go, ooh, that scene! No, I don't care. But anyway, that is it for this video. I will be doing my ranking of the Wrong Turn films next as my next video. So if you want to see where I place this in the franchise, you can check that up. If it is long past then that you're checking this video, then there will be a link up here and you can go and check that out. If you have seen Wrong Turn 2021 or Wrong Turn the Foundation, depending on what you want to call it, then please comment down below, share your thoughts on it. I would love to hear from you, but that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, watch movies, and I hope to see you in my next video. So until then, bye!